about finding your business that we can put up on the board to make sure that we address it during the class. I noticed that it seems to make the class go by faster if we do it.
I guess what do we do with like referrals if we get those?
That's gonna be our first one, referrals, what to do. Yeah, 'cause you got a lot of them, huh?
Yeah. And people are a lot more willing to give them than you would think. I think it'd be so easy to just do it. Hey, who do you know? Like, oh yeah, I actually know somebody.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Presentation, like for listing, like when you go in, like when someone says, yes, actually I would like to list my house.
Yeah, so that's another class. This one is all about find your business. So there's another class that will walk through an entire presentation.
Thanks.
Could we talk about different methods of finding business? Not just maybe not just the ones we think of initially, but some of the more creative ones?
Yeah.
Oh, where do we get our business? Thank you.
I figured that would be the first question.
Okay.
Like social media posts, like just
Ooh.
letting people know on social media that you're in the business, like what, like kind of script would use, I guess.
I actually, the other day, just posted that, like, I just added on my Facebook profile that I've joined with Keller Williams, and that got a ton of response. And so people were like, that's awesome, and so that gave me an opportunity to talk to every one of those people, and ask for that business.
Awesome. On the referrals, how do you ask for them?
Oh.
Yeah, how do we work referrals, but also how do we get referrals?
Okay. Anything else?
How about how to casually bring it up in a conversation with your realtor?
Oh. You ready for this? You just bring it up.
You just bring it up.
It's
We'll
casual
talk
if you
about
make
it.
it casual.
I feel like the stories can be good.
Kristin, can I share one thing on that? The best I've seen at that is a gal who really was resistant in marketing herself, and that fear of, I don't want to be that person. What she started doing was, as she was talking to people, she wouldn't bring up what she does until they did. She would start the conversation with, hey, what do you do for a living? Oh my gosh, that sounds great. How did you get into that? Do you enjoy it? Wow, tell me more about that. And she would just interview them on what they do, to the point that they'd be like, oh, I'm so rude. What do you do for a living? And she, oh
And
my
then
gosh,
they're just
I have the
naturally
best
that.
job in the world. I help people with real estate. Who do you know that might need some help?
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really, honestly, this one's probably the easiest thing to do, is just being able to get it out there that you're a realtor, and it's just about starting the conversation. And I always open up the conversation with the first person, so that way they open up naturally about themselves, and then they get excited because it's human nature or human behavior for us to then want to do the same thing back, right? And then with regards to social media, I think these two really go hand in hand together, because it doesn't matter what media it is, whether it's online or in person. It's just about telling the story and telling people how jazzed you are about doing it, right? So the more authentic you can be, and for people to hear your voice and your personality come out, most of the people that you're going to be interacting with aren't necessarily going to be strangers, but more than likely going to be people from your own personal SOI. So the more authentic you can be about that, I think the more successful you can be, because it sounds like you. If you're trying to do too much of a script, it doesn't sound like you and it's not authentic. And I don't know about you guys, but I want to live my true self. So if I have a certain script that I want to do, I memorize it until it sounds like me. So we'll go through that. But just start the conversation, have a conversation, ask them what they're doing, what they love about their job, and they'll start asking you. And they'll ask you, hey, what do you do? Then you can say, hey, I'm a real estate agent, and the thing that I love about it is I get to help people, or I get to do whatever. Yeah?
Where are you finding these people to have these conversations with?
These are people that have my own personal network.
I don't know.
Barbecues.
Is that?
Barbecues, coffee shops.
Coffee shop.
Honestly, I've got a client from talking to somebody in Pier 1.
So I was gonna, the next question would be how to start the conversation with random strangers, so maybe focus on that a little bit more.
Random strangers, hey, how's your, you know, it's a beautiful day out. Or have you noticed how crazy the market is? You know, it really just starts out with a small talk and then trying to get it to continue. So, did you just move here?
Correct, yes.
Where did you come from?
Connecticut.
Really? What did you like about Connecticut?
There's a lot to like about it, it's a whole different world, but it's very New Yorkin, so it's very fast paced, and coming here, it's a lot more slowed down, the atmosphere of the people, so.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to slow down to.
No slowing down.
No slowing down?
Staying right on pace.
He's so East Coast.
I know, you are totally East Coast. So, what drew you here?
What's that?
What drew you here? What caused you to move?
My girlfriend lives here, so to make that work, the long distance stuff, one had to come one where, and I'm self-employed, so luckily I was able to make the move with, I buy stuff across for a living, so I can move my network of work anywhere I need to, you know, so. She can't leave her job and get up and go as easy, so.
Okay, so there's a section, there's a few pages into the conversation that I wanna bring up, and I'm gonna point it back to you.
Thank you.
Because you just have it in right there. Okay, so we'll talk about that. So ultimately, I feel like we got a good list started, but did you notice that I just started asking you questions about you?
No, of course, but like.
And you do
said,
that when you buy and sell cars.
My thing is that I brought myself here, so now I'm here with you, you know, at a grocery store, they brought themselves to go buy food, they didn't come and talk to a realtor in the grocery store, you know, so that's my concept of
Okay.
branching out, of figuring out how to break the ice.
So we need to create a social butterfly out of you.
Just to break the ice, once the ice is broken, I'm good. you know.
Then you're good?
It's
Okay.
just figuring out that, like, you know, starting that conversation, because I'm not from here, you know, it's a little harder.
Yeah.
But-
Well, just so you know, I'm a transplant too. I'm originally from Arizona. I lived in DC for a little bit, and then I also lived in Florida. So East Coast. I mean, I pretty much lived and worked with a bunch of New Yorkers, you know,
There you go.
right? West Palm Beach. So what we're gonna do, if you guys go into the chapter of Find Your Business, we're gonna start talking about referrals. There's a script on page 9. And we're gonna briefly highlight them, because this one is about getting, about how to talk to somebody once you get a referral. We are then gonna start talking about how we find our business outside of just our sphere, and so that we can figure out new ways to do it. One thing that I really wanna open up this conversation with is that you're gonna get out of your comfort zone a little bit in finding your business, especially for the first years. And guess what? Even the most experienced agents get really nervous about interacting with new people and whatnot. So A, you're normal. B, if you're getting out of your comfort zone and feeling that uncomfortableness, that nervousness, that means you're moving in the right direction, because that also helps with growth, right? So just know you're normal. And throughout this whole section, what I really like to do is focus in on a positive mindset. You guys will see I do the events committee. Last year I was asking, I think I asked 60 restaurants to be a part of our barbecue event. And every time they said maybe, I heard, so you're saying there's a chance. Even when I hear a soft no, I'm like, so you're saying there's a chance, right? So don't give in to the first no, because a lot of times after the third no, people are gonna say yes. So what I want you guys, but you have to do it tactfully, right? Because you don't wanna be rude about it. Stoppers, no. Anyway, opportunities come easily for me, or to me, right? If you start thinking about that mindset, then that starts happening. And I'm in the mindset that there's plenty of business for all of us to be successful and have thriving businesses, and I'm gonna help you with that, okay? So, weird abundance, girl, and I, big nerd, just throwing that out there now. So on page 9, it talks about referrals. Who wants to read the first paragraph for me? It's just the first paragraph of, hi, my name is. Coach Dave.
Hi, Blake. My name is David McKenley. Your name was given to me by a close friend of both of ours, Kristin, Buta, and she said that I should give you a call. Is right now a good time to talk for a couple minutes?
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Okay, you see how it was just really easy to say yes, right? It doesn't matter who I'm talking to, I always ask them, is now a good time to talk for a couple minutes? Because it's just easy, because then you have permission to talk to them about stuff, and you can just start going, okay? And then, do you wanna just do the next paragraph, and then we'll be done with this one?
Me? Sure.
Kristen said
you were thinking of selling a house in the next 30 days, and asked if I would please give you a call. She said she and I both want to make certain that you are in great hands and that you have the very best, so that's why I'm calling.
So you hear that? He's actually kind of reassuring me, well, I'll just put myself in a different person, but he's reassuring that person by saying they want to make sure that you're going to be in good hands and I'm here to help. So you're coming from a place of contribution, okay? So when you're asking for referrals, it really comes down to whenever I'm talking to my people, and let's just say I'm at a coffee shop and I'm talking to them and just being like, man, I really love what I do, and who do you know, right? You always want to ask who instead of do you know of someone, because who is an open-ended question and it actually is it's an action phrase that actually causes them to want to make, to respond to you. Who do you know just by default, when you say, who do you know that's looking, you have a different mindset. But if you're like, hey, who do you know is already bringing somebody into fruition? I'm already thinking about somebody that I know. But when you're asking about it passively, they'll just be like, oh man, there's a sea of people, I just don't know. Okay? So really, you want to come from a place of contribution. I use this topic a lot, and it's something I don't bring up enough, but I think we should all do it. So, contribution, and this could be like a compliment, a supporting phrase, your ask, and then contribution. So I learned this in leadership. It's called the compliment sandwich. It's whenever you're trying to also give critical feedback to somebody when you want them to like not do something, but you want to do it in such a way that it's positive. So he already just gave me the contribution of, hey, both her and I want to make sure that you're going to be in great hands and that you have the very best. So that's why I'm calling, right? And then, whenever you're asking for a referral, you just be like, man, I just really love helping people. Like, I love putting people first. You can even start focusing on the 4 C's, 2 T's.
What 4 C's, 2 T's?
Yeah, it's so fast. I always get tongue-tied whenever I try to do the same thing. But like, customers always come first. Commitment in all things, right? You can just be like, hey man, I just really like to do the right thing. And I try to really focus on giving the best service to my clients. Who do you know, right? So if you look at this a little bit differently, your contribution, whatever your statement is, this is what you like to do with your people. Who do you know who's looking to make a change in real estate? You don't have to say, who are you looking to buy or sell? You can even just say, who do you know that's looking to make a change in real estate, right? They want to change where they live, they want to expand, they want to shrink their place. It could be a wide variety of different things. But if you just simplify it, then bring it all to you, right? And then you can be like, oh, that's great, thank you so much, I'm going to give them a call and then come from contribution again. Hey, how's Susie doing with soccer, right? Then that way it feels a little bit more organic, and you're also making that person feel really well supported. I've had a few agents, I've known a lot of the agents in this office for, some of them for well more than a decade, some of them a long time. Ben Beasley, for example, helped me sell my house probably over 10 years ago. And I've had a number of real estate agents call me, and it could be somebody from this office or just somebody else in general. We all know a lot of real estate agents, right? But have you ever noticed that when somebody calls you and just asks for a referral, have you ever had somebody do that to you? Okay, so I have. And it always felt kind of weird. Like, I'm like, this is weird. Yeah, I don't know anyone. This is kind of irritating. But if you do it from this way, where you have something supportive, you're coming from contribution, you're asking who, and then you follow it up with another contribution, and this could be a personal connection that you have with that person, it changes everything. So I feel like I get more referrals by doing it this way than just going out and making a bunch of calls. And that's just me, but I've noticed I've gotten a lot more this way. So a little 2019. Yeah.
Can you kind of show me what that would look like in a sentence, like how you do the compliment sandwich?
So we've got this right here, right, where it's, I want to make certain that you're in great hands and that you have the very best, so that's why I'm calling. Who do you, I don't know, I need to role play with somebody that actually do that. Is that okay? So Coach?
It's your question, you role play it.
Okay, perfect.
Christina, I don't, my book, nothing in my book has really been on. And I don't know where I'm looking
Page
at 9,
9.
10, 11, 12.
I'm on page 9, scripts for calling, for referrals. Right here.
Look at section 3, page.
Oh, find your business.
Okay,
Yeah. And page 9 of that section.
thank you.
Okay. So you can even just be like, hey man, I'm just super jazzed about being a real estate agent. I get to help people, you know, at like always doing the right thing and being completely committed to my clients. I get jazzed wanting to work every day. Who do you know that's looking to buy that I might be able to help, that, you know, like, who do you know out of your business or whatever that's looking to make a change? Who do you know that I can help? Well, that's great. Well, I really appreciate that. I can't wait to give them a call. How's Susie doing? Like,
Oh, that was, okay.
super, and it can be any way
Oh,
you
that
want it
was
to be.
something personal.
Like, you can focus, you can change this up based off of whoever you're talking to, whether it be a formal thing or just the fact that, and this might not work for you quite yet, but it will very soon, where you're interacting with your people. I like to get people in front of me, so I'll meet them for coffee a lot. And that's how I start asking for business, because I also realize once I get them in front of me, they really have a hard time not telling me someone. But if I'm calling a bunch of people and if I'm just like, hey, who do you know? They'll be like, nope, I'm good. Because we're interrupting their day. So how do we come from contribution? Or you could be like, hey, you know, like, here's another idea. Now granted, I'm just spinning them off, but like, do you have any goals for this year, you know? When I talked to, a couple weeks ago, I was talking to somebody at brunch, and they were talking about how they wanted to rent a house, and I just started asking a bunch of open-ended questions, like, well, why would you want to rent when the rental prices keep going up? You know, I can help you start looking for a home, right? Hold on a second, I got kind of caught up. So I just started asking just a bunch of open-ended questions, but then I kept trying to, coming from a place of contribution. So long story short, this guy just wanted to find a place to rent that was close to Libertyville and not spending an arm and a leg. Then I started talking to him about, you know, how the real estate market is going, and it'd be really great, rental prices keep going up, and I'd be more than happy to help him sit down and look at his finances to figure out. He didn't have any credit. He didn't have bad credit. The guy just never lived off of credit. So he didn't have any. So then I started talking to him about, you know, like, well, what we can do is we can create a plan and blah, blah, blah. But then again, then I just started reinforcing what he did. So this guy is a national touring manager for bands. So then I started asking him about, well, what's the most exciting thing about, you know, your business and whatnot. And like, well, wouldn't that be great is if you could actually have enough space where people, when they're touring and you're in your hometown, that you can actually have somebody staying with you. Wouldn't you like to get a house instead of an apartment? So I kind of tangented there, but just it doesn't matter the conversation. Just always come from a contribution, talk about how jazzed and excited you are about real estate, ask the question, and then support it with something else. So that way it doesn't feel obvious, or it feels organic to me when I do it that way. So side tangent. What I also like to do is when I start talking to people, so in the script that you had, you know, that I referred you to someone, I always wanna make sure that whoever is my connectors, whoever I get the referrals from, get their name and number and email, and so that way you can put them in your database, right? And then with this person, when you start asking who you know, well, Susie's looking to buy. Well, great, let me get Susie's number and I'll reach out to her today, right? You call Susie, she might not be ready to meet with you quite yet, but get her name and number and email address, because I like to keep my clients and friends up to date on current market patterns. Can I send you the info too? So what you really want to do is, whether it's a monthly newsletter or a quarterly newsletter, if you're not quite ready to get to that monthly commitment, you'd want to be able to get people, you're building your database right now in Ignite. So how do you get in front of them all the time? So I like to send out newsletters with stats and market updates, and you can get that all from the MLS. So I apologize in advance, I've had allergies, so I keep like getting winded and then start coughing, so I'm gonna try to avoid that one altogether. So once you get that referral and you wanna call them, so you got 3 people you wanna call.
Yeah.
So where did you get these referrals from? Are they from your family or friends?
Yeah, family, friends.
Okay, so you haven't met them yet, right? So what you wanna do is just, I always try to follow up on my leads as soon as I get them. And sometimes some of my people who give me names and numbers wanna do a courtesy reach out to them first, or let me just make sure it's okay that I give Susie your number or whatever. So you always wanna make sure that however that works, you just wanna make sure that you've got the green light to call them.
Okay.
But always get their information, because if you have people giving out your contact information, the chances of them calling is probably like 2%.
Okay.
So like, if I get somebody to call that has a referral, and so I get their name and number, and they're just like, well, let me just make sure. I'm like, okay, well, go ahead and make sure, but I'd love to reach out to them, because it's always really uncomfortable to call a real estate agent. And I just want to be able to reach out to them and let them know that I'm different and that I'm here for them. Even if they don't use me right now, that I'm just always going to be there for them. And that usually gets me past that roadblock. But always get their information, and once you call that referral, just try to sit down with them. You want to get in front of them as soon as you can. And for me, I like to just get in front of them as soon as possible. So I'll call Susie, that is a coworker of my friend Jen. So I'm calling Susie, and I'm like, hey, Jen told me that you were looking to buy something soon. Oh, when are you thinking? Is there a certain area that you're interested in? Well, that's great. I'd love to sit down and meet with you. Can I meet with you at a coffee shop or even here? Our conference rooms have the big TVs, so you can use that to look at the MLS. What you want to do is just get in front of them and help them build their goals and figure out what their big whys are and figure out what they're really looking for. Because they might be looking for a condo or a house, or their timeline might be 6 months out. But for me, I'd rather do that with them in person, because you get to figure out if they're an A, B, or C buyer. And you'll learn this in another class. But it's about ranking the priority of whatever your leads are. So A means that they're ready to go now and they want to buy now. B means maybe they haven't gotten ready yet. Maybe they're waiting for a lease to expire, but they're gonna get close. And C is somebody who's thinking about buying, but really doesn't know when, doesn't know how, or doesn't have the finances. They're just kind of on the lower end of the pole. And these guys, you want to get them connected to your newsletter or whatever you want to do to stay connected with your people. But with your A buyers, you want to start working with them right away, set goal setting, giving them homework, and setting up a time to meet with them. So you can't really do that over the phone, but you can do that in person. Now, do you agree? Can you gauge clients?
I'm better in person. It's more, if I can get in front of them, they're going to be more committed to me.
Yeah, not only that, but you get to see how motivated they are by how their nonverbals are. But what is their body language? What type of ways are they talking to you? Are they closed off? And if they're closed off with, just ask them, hey, does this stress you out? What can I do? What are your biggest worries? I always ask people, and again, this is, you know, how to win with sellers or buyers. But I ask them very basic questions of, how do I win with you and how do I lose with you? Because that sets expectations. If they prefer
I
you to
like
call them over text, they're gonna tell you, hey, don't text me, call me, right?
So you say, how do I win with you?
Mm-hmm. And how do I lose you? So we've got some scripts about becoming a new real estate agent. I figured we can spend a few minutes to walk through at least one if not two of these. It's on page 10. You got one script that's new to real estate, one script that's new to Keller Williams, and then there's a remaining script that talks about the real estate app. And really about the real estate app, our KW app, my biggest way to plug that is it's attached to the national MLS feed. So if you're, you know, in San Diego and you're strolling on Mission Beach and you're curious what those condos are going for, you can always pull it up. It's free. And also, if they've got dogs, which most of my people do, you know, you're out walking dogs and you see houses listed for sale left and right, they're curious about what it's listed for, but they don't want to nag somebody. Now they can do that with the Keller Williams app, and it's free. It also tells you when they register and when they're looking at stuff. It's pretty cool.
Can you go back a little more to Keller Williams app? So we share, so I would just simply send it to, if I have a client, I can have them just download basically.
Oh, absolutely.
Or
Before
do I
I meet
send
with
it?
somebody, I'll send it to them. So we can walk through that. What I want to do is start focusing
Yeah,
on some of
yeah,
these scripts,
for sure.
but really, it's a lot easier than it feels. You just have to get some time into interacting with people. I give that real estate app to my neighbors. I give that real estate app to my dad's a real estate agent at another brokerage. I keep trying to get him to come to Keller Williams. He's got that app. It doesn't matter who I give it to. I try to give it to as many people as possible. It's a free resource. It's a way for them to get connected to the MLS, and there's not a big lag feed, right? Zillow, I don't know if you guys ever researched homes on Zillow or looked at homes on KSL, but some of those homes have been sold for like 4 or 5 months. So this gives you a real-time feed, and it's national. Because whenever I travel, I always want to see what homes are for, because I'm an HGTV nerd. So what I want to do is spend a little bit of time on, we can even just work on page 10, the new to real estate script, and then we can figure out ways that we can make that script work for all of us. Does somebody want to read that script for me? Hello, this is, thank you.
The new to real estate?
Yeah, please.
Hello, this is Daniel. Do you have a moment? I'd like to share the exciting news that I became a real estate agent with Keller Williams Realty. With this new partnership, I have all their knowledge working for me, plus my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. I thought about sharing this with you because I knew you would be someone to help me grow my business.
So kind of cheesy, right? But there's certain things that you guys can use about our office that's a little bit different, right? I love the fact that you're introducing yourself and that the exciting news that you're in real estate. You don't really have to say, hey, that I have become a real estate agent with Keller Williams. You can just be like, man, I am so pumped about being a real estate agent. It sure beats my old corporate job. I'm an old corporate now, so I always bring that up. The fact that I get to help people for a living, and I get to be, being able to help people and be a resource. And it says with this new partnership, I have all their knowledge working for me. Just you can talk about how we're different, right? Because we have training classes all the time. You can stop any agent in this hallway at any time to say, hey, I'm stuck on this thing. You can't get that anywhere else. So that's another selling point that could bring you to this office. Plus my clients get all my enthusiasm and hard work. Well, if you're working for you have your own business now, right? So you get to make that look any way you want to. You don't have to answer to any boss. It's kind of cool. Anybody else excited to leave their old job and start real estate full time? Right? Right? Okay. So you know, everything changes everything when you just get to put your clients first, right? So you want to share that with the world, and anybody that you're friends with are going to want to help you naturally grow your business. So that would be a great way to start the conversation of who do you know, or hey, I've got this cool Keller Williams app, right? Does anybody have questions about scripts? Because I used to hate them, so if you want to talk about that at all.
Do you just practice it over and over and over again to get comfortable with it, like saying it out loud? Like, how does it sound more natural?
Yeah.
Is that all you did, or is there like a little
Yeah,
trick
so
you did, or?
it's a really good question. So I felt really foreign using scripts, and some of this kind of feels a little outdated, like Keller Williams Realty can just be like, hey, I'm at the Sugar House, Keller Williams, or what. Like, you can make fine-tuned changes, but some of the action words are actually built in there, so that way it helps create motivation for that other person to say something back. So once you start figuring out what those action words kind of are, then you can really figure out how to keep those in there and customize it, so that way it sounds like you.
Okay, yeah. that makes
So the
sense.
more you practice them and figuring that out, and if at any time you have a script and you want to figure out how to make that a little bit more authentically you, Coach Dave's going to be there to help you.
Okay.
So I used to hate scripts. That was my thing. My first year, I'm like, not using scripts. But then I started realizing, okay, I guess they have a purpose. But once you figure out what that purpose is, you can customize any script to sound like you, so that way it feels better.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm right there with her, just to help. I've been in meeting for a minute, so I'm just kind of sitting in for refresher more than anything, just because it's amazing. But if you think about it, anything you know anything about, you have a script that you use every single day. Whether it be when you go to your doctors, you end up giving them a script. When you answer a phone call from a telemarketer, you give them a script. So if you think about it that way,
Yeah.
then you're doing a script every time you turn around during the day. This is just a little bit foreign, because you're not comfortable or confident in it yet.
Yeah.
But as you start practicing it and learning more and getting right into it, it's gonna come naturally, and you're gonna make your own scripts automatically.
I feel like whenever I practice them, I sound like such a robot. That's why I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't know if there's.
And just see what flows
And
while
you're
you're
okay.
practicing.
Okay,
You're okay
Yeah.
feeling that way.
okay.
We all feel that way.
Okay.
So, and then if you, my biggest piece of advice for you guys with scripts and connecting with people and asking for business and whatnot, be your authentic self. The more you can talk in the lingo and the language that's naturally comes easily to you, the more they're gonna feel like it's genuine, and tell a story. I have no problems telling you guys any type of story that I have about any of my clients and how rad it is. So just focus on that, and once you start getting 1 or 2 clients in your pipeline and you're feeling more confident about yourself, you can use the stories of those 1 or 2 clients to share with the world about how excited you are about being a real estate agent, okay? So they can be, Susie has a daughter who wants to be in ballet, and she purposely moved across town to be close to her. Isn't that cool? I was able to help them achieve their dream. Pretty easy. Other ways that you can do is once you have a group of really close-knit friends who really want to be jazzed about your business, tell them, hey man, I got a goal this year that I want to help 10 families. Who do you know that's looking to make a change in real estate? If you start telling people about your goal, the more you put it out there, the more apt the universe is about listening. Okay, kind of weird. It's all about intention for me. But I've noticed that if I start telling people what my goals are, which by the way this year is 20, which isn't, they're very big. I know I could probably beat it, but my goal is 20 and I want to do it really well. For me, it's about perfecting my business and my craft and being able to make a difference in people's lives. So the more I tell people about that, you can even ask them, hey, I'm really working hard to achieve this goal. I'm looking for a new family to work with. Who do you know that is looking to make a change? I'm just super jazzed about helping people. Yeah, I am that nerd, but just an opportunity for you guys. And then, there is a script in here about being new to town. It's on, page 11, it's number 4. I'd like to share some exciting news with you. I have moved to Salt Lake and I'm with Keller Williams, and I thought about connecting with you because I knew you would be someone to help me get my business going in Salt Lake. Can I count on you? Know anybody that has arms that can help you? Not yet? We can get there.
Is your girlfriend here?
What's your girlfriend do for a living?
She's, works for an immigration law firm, right down the street, actually.
Nice. Really cool.
Immigrants need to buy houses.
In the States.
Like, not the wrong way, but what's your girl's number? Dude, I'll give her a call.
It's all about building friendships, relationships, getting those going. Once you start getting those, then you can start figuring out who your real connectors are. Everybody has them, so you're gonna build them too. It's just a matter of time. Those connectors are gonna be more apt to helping you find new clients. And whenever you get a new connector, and once you've established who those are, you start seeing people. I have one couple who are super sweet. They're like this tall, and every time I stop by their house, they bring me in, they cook me a full-on lunch. It's a 2-hour thing. I have to make sure that I'm blocked out for it. But it's the cutest family. So if you ever see it during any type of functions, you'll start seeing this couple because they go to everything I do.
That's cool.
But I spoil them, right? Like I'll just drop off some gifts, or they'll talk about how they want to see a movie and I'll just get them tickets, or I'll drop off a gift card to a restaurant so that way they can celebrate, Johnny's big win. Just take good care of your people. My dad's been in real estate for 40 years, and the one piece of advice that he told me as a kid, which I didn't quite understand until I started being self-employed, is just take good care of people around you and they'll take care of you. So, for what it's worth. Okay, we're gonna get to the cooler parts, because like, scripts are great and all, and I'm on recording, so I probably shouldn't say too much of it. But like, my family, handwritten notes, key. I do handwritten notes all the time. My mom's from Chicago, so the whole Midwestern thing, like it's just embedded in almost every Midwestern family to write thank you cards and whatnot. It might feel annoying, but once you send it off, you're like, huh, I just made somebody smile at that card. Sometimes when I'm writing thank you notes or whatever, it gets kind of like bogged down, but I just think about how they're gonna react when they open that card, and just think about that when you're writing it. It's strange, but usually I get calls whenever I send a card. All right, so let's talk about, we're gonna talk about prospecting and all the different ways. This is the biggest reason why I love building this class, is that we're gonna find all the different ways that we can find business, because it's not just about our sphere. But before we begin, why do you guys think lead generation is important?
How you do business. How you pay your bills.
Yeah, it also helps you build a steady business, right? Because if you're always lead generating, you don't have ups and downs, it's more steady. So, something I learned with Ignite is, and it's pretty easy, like, there's tons of big teams that, contact hundreds of people every week. For me, I need to have 20 conversations a week. If I'm having 20 active conversations with people about real estate a week, the prospecting, the referrals, the names, people that want to work, I have 3 people that I'm working with right now, and I had a new one fall in my lap just because I took a call today. And then they just started talking about, well, my daughter's getting so big, and I'm like, yeah, you got a 2-bedroom house. How do you have 3 kids in a 2-bedroom house? Right? Started the conversation. So, we'll get there. So, what do you think is different about lead generation with successful agents versus not so successful agents?
The successful ones still do it.
Yeah. Yeah, the biggest thing that you can do is get yourself into production. Everybody has lulls. So when you hit one, it's okay. Allow yourself, you know, that space to say, hey, I'm growing my business. Everybody has lulls, but it's about keeping going. Don't give up. Don't think about, you know, checking out because you just don't feel like it that day. Sometimes when you have those days that you check out, you could actually set your business back like a couple weeks, a couple months, just because you didn't go out there and rally. Go out there and rally. Even if you can't do it all day, just do it for a couple hours. Always try to take that extra step just to keep going. I have to say that for
was real
myself.
powerful, thank you.
You bet. So, with me, I think that it's inexpensive to lead gen and just prospect. I like interacting with people. I'm a bit of a social butterfly, I will be honest. So I like talking with people. And it's really interesting. I can't tell you how many times that I've sat in an open house and got a client because I just genuinely like to talk to people. So get out there, be intentful, be purposeful. And if you keep doing it and you're consistent about it, it's going to happen. So the 4 C's of prospecting. I'm on page 16. It's about capturing leads, connecting and establishing relationship, closing for an appointment, and cultivating and maintain that relationship. So we talked about getting a referral, getting Susie's name, connecting with her, and setting an appointment so you can sit down with her, figure out her whys and her goals. Now, they'll walk you through how to do that in another class. But once you connect with them and you've got their information, you can cultivate a relationship with them with your, you know, with some of your more passive methods of communication with newsletters, postcards, or anything like that. We also have great events. I'm going to plug for a second. We have a few events every year that we set up large events. We've got casino night, we've got Battle of the Barbecue, where you can invite your people there for a very small cost. So it's a great way to cultivate that relationship and keep people top of mind. Even when you're calling and inviting them to it, it's reminding them that you're in business. So, sorry, small one. So, you capture as much information. Who has 100 people in their database right now? Awesome. Who has 50 people in their database right now? Rad. That's perfect. So it's just about moving forward. And if you have a smaller database to start with, man, look at the people in your pipeline and figure out who you can take to coffee. Figure out how you can build that relationship. Real estate is all about relationship. So we're going to walk through how to find new business here in just a second. So I'm not going to go through every page because I've already highlighted and made notes, so I try to make this as easy as possible so we can start to keep on the fun stuff. So we're going to go to page 18. It's about connecting. I think this is a big page, and the next page, 19. If you can fold it, like fold over like the page so that way you can go back to it, I think it's really good. So these are some connecting questions. Have you guys ever heard about Ford? Can you tell me what Ford is?
It stands for Family, Occupation, Recreation, and Dreams. It's an acronym to keep us on track for a powerful conversation.
Great. Thank you. No, I'm gonna write this.
Bad handwriting covers bad spelling.
Oh, I'm a lefty, it's always bad. And I misspelled something. Okay, so Ford. If you haven't heard about this yet, you might want to write it down somewhere. Because I use this all the time. It helps me connect with people. When you meet strangers, you know, like, oh, what do you do? What do you like to do for fun? What are your big dreams? What's your family like? Right? These are all open-ended questions that you can start connecting and building a relationship with people. Because if Susie's a dancer and she's, you know, that lady's got to take Susie to the gym all the time, or dance studio, I guess is a better term, right? They're going to talk about that, you know? I don't know. You're a dancer. You're a pretty princess. Okay, sorry. I met him before Keller Williams, so. So on here, there's a lot of connecting questions, right? So would you please tell me a little bit about your family, your job, your life, assessing people's wants, what are you looking for, what do you want to do? Everybody has dreams, everybody has the ideal home of what they want. It's just about helping them start a conversation to get them started, and that way you can see that home. Whenever anybody's talking to me about their dreams and that they want to, move into a bigger home or whatever, I try to visualize it as much as I can because I want to be a part of that dream. Okay? Why are you moving? When would you like to do this? And how do you plan to do this? These are all ways to not only determine their motivation, their timeline, and their expectations, it actually also solidifies whatever that goal is. Everybody has one. If you meet somebody that doesn't have one, I'll give you $10. Everybody has one. Everybody has goals and dreams, so just gotta figure out what those are. I always ask all those questions whenever I meet any new buyer, any new seller, which they'll explain more in another class, but really, you want to assess people, you want to connect with people, and this is how you can do it in a very easy way. Closes is on the next page. It's a part of the process of asking for business, and there's so many different types of closes on here, and it's really interesting. If we read through some of these, you might think about like your brother Joel, or your sister, or old coworker, because there's a lot of different personalities in here, and so there's a lot of different personalities out in the universe. So there's different closes for everyone, right? So the hard close, which I usually go for, hey, let's meet. I never sugarcoat anything. You can ask anybody. Like Spring's gonna do classes with me. So, soft close, I really enjoyed visiting with you. When would you like to get together to discuss this further? That works an awful lot. Does anybody want to read through the direct close?
Sure. Can we meet today or would tomorrow be better?
So she's putting a timeline on that, right? Because you don't want to have just an open-ended question if somebody's not 100% committed. So it's really good. Hey, you seem to work at 8 to 5. Would you like to get a cup of coffee after work on Wednesday? It's measurable, and they really don't have a real reason to say no. And if they do say no, then say, well, what about Thursday? Because then you're nailing down and setting up a commitment. Direct close, can we do tomorrow be better? Indirect close, would it be okay if you got some information to look over and then we can meet to discuss? When would you use that?
That could be a potential seller client.
Yeah.
It could be any of the referrals that we talked to.
Yep.
Before they agree to meet with this nebulous agent, just call them. We'll send you some information. We got it.
Yeah.
What information do you want to send them?
Your buyer consultation packet, your pre-listing packet, Q3 market report.
Yeah, so I like to use I'm a big numbers person. I like to give people what the temperature of the market looks like. Like you can even just, instead of your buyer, you'll end up having your listing packet and your buyer packet, shrink it down into 3 pages, and then have some stats on it. And that way it's you don't give them everything, but you give them something enough to chew on to want to call you again, and then you follow up.
That's a good way to get them in your database too.
Yeah.
How
And
do
to
you,
get
where do you get like the temperature of the market, like how you put it? Where do you get that information?
The MLS, they have stat reports and whatnot, so if you ever have questions, our office will send quarterly stats. I think they just sent some out a few days ago?
Yeah, we just released quarter 4 stuff.
Yeah, so you can even get it from there.
Yeah, and actually the MCA, Rachel, puts together wonderful office.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we call the lore, the language of real estate.
Yeah.
She puts those slides together every single month, and we'll share them just for the asking. So if you want to integrate those into your buyer package, your listing packets, she updates those, like I said, quarterly.
The lures are amazing, especially to get started. So I thank you for reminding me about those, because those.
What did
I
you say
use
for water?
LORE.
Language of real estate. Know your numbers. Because your non-analytical clients, they're just gonna be, ooh, pretty. I wonder how much fun she had designing this. Your analytical buyers are gonna be like, I don't care about how much fun she had designing this, I just want the data.
Yeah.
And so if you have something, you can just.
You can even use that when
people.
talking to people, even just the lore, just to get the conversation started. So, there's a few of these in here. We can go, you guys can go through all of these, but it's really, another one I like to use a lot is the tie-down close. Would it make sense for us to meet the next day or so? I mean, like, what's your schedule look like? Cause they'll be like, yeah, we should actually. There's the negative, where is it, where's the takeaway?
The negative, positive.
The take back
Yeah.
close, number 8.
Oh, yeah, you wanna read the take back?
I'm about to take
It's
it.
my favorite.
I really enjoyed visiting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can help you out or not, but I'd be honored if we can meet right out.
Nice. Yeah, cause then they're like, oh, wait, what? Wait, no, you want one.
Yeah, I want to work with everybody, right? Not everybody gets to work with me.
And I use that in my buyer and seller presentation, like, I might not be the right realtor for you. So let's walk through this and see if we're gonna be a good match, and if not, I can refer you to somebody that I know would be a better match for you. They're like, wait, I wanna work with you. Not really, but. And then which one were you talking about, the negative, positive clause?
That one I actually scratched out of my book because I hate it. Loathe
Yeah.
it, hate it. I love my ex-wife more than I like this close.
I don't like being offended. Would you be offended if I?
asked you for an appointment?
I don't even think it should be in any of our language.
Yeah, that makes, like, if I am so thin-skinned that you asking me for an hour of my time is offensive, I don't wanna work with you.
I'm offensive, I'm now like feeling, you know, like upset because.
And let's be honest, Kristen, you know me pretty well, I know you pretty well. If asking me for an appointment offends them, they're gonna have a rough time at lunch. It's gonna be a bad hour for them.
Right? But out of most of the pages in this chapter, these are my favorite. So figure out how to highlight them, figure out how to use them, because your open-ended questions, the more open-ended questions you can give people, the more real they'll be. And another tip that's not in the book, go 3 layers deep when you do open-ended questions. Oh, so what are your goals? Why do you want to move to that area? What else about that area, you know, really interests you? Is there anything else about this neighborhood that really excites you? It's weird, but you get way more information if you just ask it once. Especially when they get tied to a house and they're not sure if they want to put it in an offer. It's another class. But 3 layers deep. Always go 3 layers deep. So, this is my favorite page. Page 21 of this helps you figure out all of the different ways that you know somebody. So what I want to do is I'm going to ask you guys to take a look for a minute at this list. And just start thinking about other people that you might not have thought about that are in your sphere, because I will be honest with you, my dentist is in my newsletter, is in my database. My neighbors, whether they like it or not, are in my database. My hairstylist too. Think about it. Because these are people that you see every day. You can even ask, like, put a little star in those boxes of people that you've realized that you can now put in your database as a follow-up. Here's another question for you guys. On average, how many people do you think you know? Do you think you know 50 people? Like, especially now looking at this? Do you think there's 50 people that you could probably start working on nurturing and getting them information? Right? What about Facebook, right? We talked about social media. How many people are you friends with on Instagram or Facebook? More than 50 people?
Twice as
100?
many after I started real estate. I went through and had everybody that from my past.
Right? So there's also LinkedIn, which you could do that with your professional background. I try not to post everything about real estate all the time on social media. I try to do the top 3 and then real estate. What are the top 3 things that people know you the most about? I have a 1965 Thunderbird, which is being worked on right now. I can't wait to get it back. I have a 2-year-old rescue blue pit bull named Winston. He wears a bow tie. Right? He's on my business. Let's see here, what else? Oh, and used to be a music promoter for over 10 years.
People know you more for your sick ink.
Oh, and my tattoos. Okay, so I know mine. I got a lot of tattoos. Getting a new one in a couple weeks. So it's really interesting. I have over 1,000 friends on Facebook. So what I do is I try to make sure that I'm hitting all of these things. I send some funny stuff out there, and then I'll just post about real estate. I'll talk about how jazzed I am about being on the road or being a road warrior, going from one part of town to the other, just talking about how I got to help somebody, right? I had a client my last client that I closed on, I've been working with her for 10 months. Her husband passed away when I was helping her sell her home. They were trying to move closer to family. So that was a big journey. Her husband, without her knowing, he turned out to have liver failure, kidney failure, and whatnot. He racked up some debt that she wasn't aware of. So when we were trying to help her buy a house, we had to work through that for our girl. So I sat with her and helped her write letters to all those banks, so that way we got all that written off. And I closed on her new house in the east side of town 10 days ago. So that's a huge journey. In that example, I worked with her for over 10 months. That was a long-term haul. There's a lot of people that won't take that time to work and connect with people. But at the end of that closing, man, I felt like I was on cloud 9. So I was able to put a little post out there about how jazzed I am to helping people and the long journey and whatnot. So just be your authentic self. Don't post 100% about real estate, but make sure you have at least 3 things, and then you talk about your journey. Tell your story and how you interact with your people. Because that's what gets you up every day, so that's what people should hear.
On Facebook, though?
Why not?
That popped into my head. The fact that you posted about that experience on Facebook is cool. Did your client?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I have clients without even, yeah.
I mean, that was kind of a leading question. I kind of thought I would be asked for that.
I've had 3 clients in the last few months post, like voluntarily, I didn't even ask them to. They're like, we just moved into this awesome house. It wouldn't have been possible without blah, blah, blah. You make people feel important, they're gonna share that story. Doesn't happen all the time, but when it does, man, it's so much fun.
I actually talked about that story. I think I was talking about.
What?
I was like, you know, I just, yeah, this lady's amazing. I told her all about it. She was like,
Yeah. So let's, thank you. So on page 22, there's a little box here with a bunch of open boxes for your sphere of influence. I'm sure everybody can think about, let's do 5 people at least, that you can think of that maybe you can start working on cultivating that relationship. Let's say it's your homework, but it's not going to be required, but it helps you. So just so you know, I have family members that are across the country. I have family members actually in England who get some of my newsletters. I've got family in Chicago that get some of my newsletters. I've had referral business from Mexico. So just because you may not know everybody here, even if they can get a newsletter to hear about your story and your path. And just, my dental hygienist, again, is on my newsletter. And it was all because I just had a conversation with her. Think about, give me 5. If you can give me 5, and if you can even give me 3, it's a win. Okay? We'll just spend 2 minutes doing that. And you already got people.
I already have people written down.
So just 5 people that.
On page 22,
You can reach out to.
in these categories, teachers, that could be your kid's teacher, some friends, relatives, neighbors. Everybody has neighbors. Is there a neighbor that looks a little friendly that you can start saying hi to and waving to? Do you know that my neighbors make fun of me all the time because nobody's talking to all my neighbors?
There she goes again.
Yeah, that's actually, I am not shy. My poor boyfriend. Okay, very cute, okay. Hello, what?
Outside of Franklin. Are you seeing my post lately?
Hairstylist, mechanic. Dry cleaner. Costco workers, I stop them all the time too.
Like, oh yeah, I didn't like you, but send.
The receptionist at my financial advisor's office is on my sphere.
See?
Wait, she's on my sphere too.
No.
Let me know when you guys have, well, you got more than 5. Maybe your girlfriend has some friends that you can put down. And if you guys aren't hanging out with her friends, then you guys need to go do some social stuff so you can build that pipeline. Cause I recruit my boyfriend's friends all the time. Even earlier today, I feel bad for him.
Anything, I actually gave some of my swag to one of my friends and her husband's a real estate agent. Yeah. Has my name on it. So she uses it.
I didn't know that. That's actually brilliant. I need to buy some swag. Okay. Do we feel like we got a list started, or at least the juice is going? How are you feeling? Yeah, good? Okay. If you ever need help on figuring out how to interact with new people, I'll be happy to help you, right? I have no problems, untapped resources, especially in the morning. Right? Okay, so,
Can I share one thing, Kristin?
yeah.
Well, I take class. It's actually something you said earlier. As you're thinking through these groups, there are huge populations that are underserved, okay? Whether for socioeconomic reasons, for racial reasons, for whatever, there are huge populations. Kristin was talking about tapping into an underserved population that's close to her heart. The freaks and geeks and weirdos that are so tattooed and pierced that nobody will take them seriously, okay? Like with your dance crew and stuff, like
Yeah.
a lot of these are young people that don't fit a social norm. Serve those people. They got money, they got needs, they need places to sleep and raise families. And if you're the one that shows up and shows them that you take them seriously and you're an expert, you will have a captive audience.
Yeah, well, a lot of people my age think that they can't buy, and like, I just recently bought a house, so
Yeah.
I've been trying to use that as an example. It's like, it's not really like your age that really determines it, like, you just need to talk to somebody and figure out what you can do to like
Yeah.
raise your credit or like different things, and like that kind of gets like a little bit of a conversation.
Or just say yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where else can we get leads? Do you have a dance class? Is that what I heard?
Well, I mean, I kind of have like a group of people where we all like spin, like props and stuff, like little props, like people who like spin hoops or like
Nice.
point stuff.
Okay, so do you mind if I just write for people for right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, I guess it does have a lot of dancing.
Where else can we find people that are not just our sphere people, but like, where else can we generate business? So I'll put door knocking as one of them.
Yeah. You can do that. But there are other ways, also, I don't know your name, I'm sorry. Gabriel.
Gabe's fine.
I'm just gonna focus on you because you're East Coast, I'm from East Coast, and now we're best friends. So
Yep.
just a heads up, and now you become my project. However,
Sign it up.
yeah, see, so, I am from Maine. I didn't know anybody when I moved here, except my two brothers. I have a brother that's a broker in town, doesn't work for Keller Williams,
Yet?
right? He's been doing it for like 13 years, I've been in the business for 5. When I was asked about my sphere, I was like, well, it all goes to him, like everybody I know is through him, because he was here before me. But in reality, once I took a step back, and I was like, oh, well, actually, this person ended up close with me, because we're closer and I didn't realize it, or like, we get along better, or we have more of a connection. Other ways that you could, I won't, because I'm not as outgoing as that, but is that meetups.
Yes.
If you
I was
have
about to say that.
like you and your girlfriend doing it together to a meetup, whether it be for kayaking, hiking, yoga, whatever.
There's
is
even one
your
for beer
excitement.
drinking.
There is beer drinking, dogs, whatever it may be. If she doesn't have a network here, go make one together. And not only that, will that help your business, but it'll help you guys too. Not that you guys need help, but whatever. Now we're down the wrong path.
100%.
Mark Nichols has been using meetups for months and getting a lot of business from it.
Who?
Mark Nichols?
I got a client from talking to him at a dog park. I got a client from talking to him about Pier 1.
Yeah.
Just the manager. Just like, I'm looking for this, because I'm a real estate agent. Meetups is rad, just about meeting new people in general.
Cool, so how do you establish that meetup?
Meetup.com.
Yeah, or there's also an app.
It's an app.
Oh, yeah.
And you can look by
What is
categories,
it?
any interest that you have,
It's an app.
photography.
Meetup?
And they have different events that you can go and, you don't, usually doesn't cost any money, you sign up and go, hey, I'm gonna go on this particular day. It's kinda like Facebook, there's different events, but meetups are literally for people to meet people. And it could be couples, it could be single people, it could be almost anything.
So we also got
violin meetups, I mean, there's like everything you can think of. Anyway,
What other ways can we meet people outside of our sphere?
Open houses are golden.
Just, I've gotten like 5 or 6 clients last year off of open houses. But I also did open houses every Saturday. Every week.
My only like social interaction is actually the gym, so
There's
Go,
the other
Jim.
side.
that's my only people place.
You can start talking to the trainers and start like letting them know, like, who, Scott Ritchie was a trainer at Gaza.
And he still gets leads from the gym.
Yeah.
I
So
thought it-
does Mason Conlon. That's
So-
where most of his business comes from.
That's
So
what I-
become a personal trainer, basically.
No,
they're
I
not
go to a
trainers.
gym.
No, these guys don't even, they.
Well, just networking with them
Yeah,
and just letting them know that you're an agent.
Scott's approach is he takes his fitness seriously, and so if he sees somebody on a machine or doing something incorrectly or puts them in danger, they'll go over, introduce himself, say, hey, can I give you a couple tips? You can change this and this, you get better results, and you probably protect your back a little bit better. And they're like, oh my gosh, are you a trainer? He's like, oh, of course not, I have the best job in the world, I'm a real estate agent. And after that, they're like, wait a minute, you just spent 15 minutes with me teaching me how to do this, interrupting your workout, and you don't even work here. And people are like, can I work with you now?
Genuine.
It's just genuine Scott being Scott. Same with Mason being Mason. Just showing up and doing what they do.
I have as well in my gym, and up until I came to Keller Williams, people didn't know I was an agent, and I had been there for like 10 years.
Seriously?
I'm dead serious. I didn't talk about it ever. So, it's a good resource if people want to work with you.
Where else can we meet people?
Coffee
Can I
shop.
meet people?
At the coffee shop.
Coffee shops. all I did was just connect with people at once. And 2/3 of who I hired are still there. Not as far,
They're still there every night.
but I don't care, I talk to people everywhere, right?
Your
I-
family's jobs, like going and taking lunch to your brother at his job and meeting everybody.
Mhm. That's a good way.
The brokerage.
It's just Andrew's party.
But even like parents, like my mom, all of her coworkers have worked with her for like 20 years, so they know all of us and they're automatically supported.
Yeah, family or friends, friends of family.
Different classes you can take, there's tons of classes or events on Facebook in general, just like the meetups, but different ones like that you can just sign up and do. It's a lot of networking, there's a ton of networking events out there, literally every single day in this
Mhm.
valley that you can go meet different business owners at,
Yeah.
which is super busy.
Hey. Even your servers, bartenders have jobs, they actually make a killing. Just writing most of it off. But if you can show them how to build the strategy, they can buy a place. Anybody here can buy a place. And here's the other thing, it doesn't take 20% down to get a place, right? So what I would recommend is start exploring lenders. People are gonna start wanting to take you out to lunch and whatnot. You gotta find your right group of partners that, can help you be successful. Start talking to, we've got like, what, 3 or 4 preferred lenders in our 4, right? So just start connecting with them, see who you can actually spark a relationship with, and then start learning how people can buy homes with very little money down, or the different programs. We have somebody talking here every week about different programs and whatnot. I'm sorry, this Tuesday, we heard about a $5,000 grant. You know what I did as soon as she was done talking about it? I posted it on Facebook.
What was it for? Just
What?
the just the grant that they just started? It's like new? The
Mhm.
grant for the 5,000?
I don't know if it's new or old, but she talked to us about a grant for $5,000 that people can use as closing costs or down payment.
Hmm.
You could contact her and ask her for more details. Her flyer's probably in the.
We forgot FISBOs and expires.
Oh, what?
I-
How is that possible?
It must be afternoon on a Friday.
So you guys get the gist? I've even talked to people waiting in the grocery line. Okay, again, I'm not shy, and it's embarrassing how not shy I am. But the more I just interact with people and they realize that I'm not scary, it's just how it works. I will cold call people, I have no problems doing that either. But all I do is go out and try to talk to as many people as I can. I wanna have 20 conversations about real estate, meaningful face-to-face conversations, every week. That's my goal. Do I have the sun and moon and the stars? No. I sold $6 million in real estate last year, so it kinda worked. But all I did was just making sure that I have regular meaningful conversations